All right, we're gonna round this out with some a panel on customers' journey with DigitalOcean. So we'd like to welcome up our panelists and Darian to moderate the panel.
Awesome, thank you, Matt. Go ahead and scoot these out a little bit so it's more personal here. Move this over here. Doing some live stage work here for you guys. I know that's always entertaining to see. Excellent.
Yep.
Thanks so much. Howdy, folks. Thanks so much for sticking with us today. I know it's been a lot of stuff today, and just a little bit more for you here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Darian. You may recognize me as the loud guy who keeps yelling at you to get back in the auditorium. Most people at DigitalOcean also know me as the loud guy, and that usually means that I make it on stage at some point during these events. But unfortunately, I got demoted to management a few years ago. So now I don't have all of the tech skills that I used to, so I can't do a great presentation like my solutions architects can. But what they can do is give me a bunch of experts that I can just ask questions of, and they can do all the smart talking. So I wanted to introduce our guests here, and I'll have them introduce themselves and talk about what company they're coming from and what they're doing. If you guys want to start from left to right.
Sure, thanks. Hi, my name is Zois Pavlados. I'm originally from Greece. I live in the last 9 years in the Netherlands. I have more than 15 years experience in tech, but in the last 6 years, I found what I love to do, which is engineering, infrastructure, and automation. I work now for Ekios as a principal DevOps engineer, and our company makes a solution for customers in energy and the commodity sector, which is for trading and risk management. Yeah, what else? I'm a husband, and I have 2 young daughters and a dog who runs the house.
Hi everyone, I'm Matt Gray. I'm founder of Served Hosting, which is a web hosting platform specifically for niche CMS systems. My background is originally web developer, and then people made me manage servers. So then I made a business out of that, I suppose.
Yeah, so I'm Markus Kyle from the Ethereum Foundation. So I have like a similar background to Matt. So started out as a web developer, and then somebody also told me like, hey, we need to like have you look at servers, and then this became a passion, and I'm like for a couple of years now briefing infrastructure. Yeah, and I guess a couple of people might know the Ethereum Foundation, or Ethereum as like the second largest blockchain on the planet right now. And we as a foundation are a non-profit, and we try to nurture the ecosystem and nurture the development of the blockchain.
Hi, I'm Andres Murcia. I'm head of engineering of a company called Pickup. We're like a ride-sharing application for motorcycles in Latin America and last mile delivery.
Awesome, thanks folks. So what we're going to talk about today is moving workloads between clouds, deciding on where to put workloads in clouds, and I wanted to start with you, Markus. What was it that Ethereum was struggling with, the Ethereum Foundation was struggling with, that led you to look for other hosting providers?
Yeah, so we had a couple of footprints in like almost all of the clouds at some point, or like not even just like cloud providers, but like also your smaller ones like the Hetzels of the world, stuff like this. And then we started to nurture the idea of having like test nets, or like on-demand test nets, which is basically in the blockchain world means that, okay, you simulate the whole blockchain for testing new forks and new features that you want to bring onto mainnet. And you can like probably imagine that if we would screw up, or like the community screws up a blockchain update or new feature update, then there's like billions and billions of dollars down the drain, worst case. So we try not to make this happen. And for this reason, we needed like some place to run those like test nets. And problem with like the hyperscalers is that, yeah, they could probably do it, but it's like, first of all, cost is like very unpredictable. given blockchains are like a peer-to-peer thing. So you have like basically unexpected egress or unpredictable egress. So it's like one node can do nothing and one node can like be blasting the pipe all day long. You really don't know. And then also the whole tooling around it. So like you do everything in Terraform and spinning up like hyperscaler infrastructure is like so much boilerplate around that. And on the other hand, if you go to like the like heads node type of situation, it's like there's no automation at all.
Yeah.
Apart from like a couple of their offerings, but like anyways, so and the problem there is like our networks these days tend to be like 2,000 nodes large, meaning we like on DO we spin up like 2,000 droplets at once. You can't like click buy buttons 2,000 times
Yeah.
on like the cheap providers. So with DigitalOcean we find that like sweet spot of like solid APIs, solid documentation, predictable costs, and like easy ways to like automate things without having like to drain the treasury. We don't have a product as the foundation. We are non-profit,
Yeah.
so we have to like be very careful with all the funds we spend. So every dime saved is a good dime saved.
That's awesome, yeah. And Matt, I understand Served, very early on in the process, Served Hosting decided on DigitalOcean as the right provider for what you were building out. What led to you kind of searching for different providers and why DigitalOcean?
So I was quite lucky in that I was starting from a blank slate. I was able to choose whoever I wanted because it was a brand new product. The first version of Served was actually hosted on AWS because that's where my experience was previously, in kind of the work I'd done previously. But I'm not a massive fan of acronyms, so we quickly moved away from that. And I actually ended up putting kind of alpha version 2 on Google Cloud. And that was mainly because of their Kubernetes support. I knew that I was going to use Kubernetes for the backbone of Served from the outset, so that kind of seemed like a good fit. But while I was setting up the first version on Google Cloud, DigitalOcean released the beta version of Docs, DigitalOcean's managed Kubernetes service. So version 3 got put on DigitalOcean, and the limited amount of kind of knowledge gathering that I had to do to get a platform up and running on there was what sold it to me. The fact that I could essentially get a whole platform up and running within a short space of time and also have the kind of transparency on how much that was going to cost moving forwards and how we were going to scale with that is why it stayed there.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's always been something I've been super proud of with DigitalOcean is the cost simplicity is a big aspect that I think a lot of people really appreciate and draws them to the platform. Andres, with PyBox, what was it that you guys were looking for in a cloud and why did DigitalOcean draw you?
We basically have these high peak times where everybody wants to get to the airport or to their jobs or to send packages. So we are super unpredictable all the time or most of the time. So we wanted like scalability and that our cloud basically needed to be as predictable as possible in terms of costs. So we as Latin American, we were paying a lot of money for all the egress bandwidth and everything from the cloud. And that was money, like a lot of wasted money. So we actually did some tests on DigitalOcean. We started migrating everything and we fell in love with how easy and how simple it was for us to implement like everything. So from sending packages till, I don't know, like you taking a ride like an Uber, but in motorcycle, then it was super easy, simple, and super fast. So we fell in love with the cloud and we stick with it, you know.
Awesome, thank you. And Zois, with Kios, what was it that led you guys to seek out different providers and why was DigitalOcean at the top of that list?
Well, the energy market is very regulated, and due to the nature of the data that we store and we process for our customers, we had very strict compliance rules. And one of these is that its customer get their own self-tenant solution SaaS, which means that we have to manage, I don't know, a lot of servers. Not Ethereum size, of course, but still a lot of servers. And we originally, when we moved completely from on-prem to SaaS cloud solution, we partnered with a small Dutch cloud provider, but soon it proven to be ineffective. We had outages in Dutch warm days, that's a thing. And there was no automation, there was no tooling around it. The options were not that many, not many products to support our product. Yeah, it was actually, I think it was my personal decision to choose DigitalOcean. I come from a software development background, and yeah, it was in this morning's keynote, but Laravel has been notoriously famous, or DigitalOcean has been notoriously famous among Laravel developers for its simplicity and its price cost. This is where I knew about it. So we started using it. We started with a proof of concept, the automation, the tools, the Terraform and infrastructure as code worked to our benefit. So we started migrating all our workloads, and we never looked back.
Awesome, that's great to hear. I mean, fun fact, every time somebody says simplicity when describing DigitalOcean, a shark gets its fins. So thank you for that. You're doing a good service there. That's honestly one of the watchwords that we've always had. I've been here for 10 years, and I still appreciate the simplicity that we approach the cloud with today, just like I did way back when I was learning how to use Linux for the first time, and DigitalOcean tutorials were helping me. So thanks for that. I'm curious, so if I can just go back to you, what was the migration planning like? And if you could give any advice to any startups out there, or youngsters who are looking to migrate their own workloads, what advice would you give them as a result of things you've learned in that process?
So the migration plan, we started with manual proof of concept to see if everything worked out. Then we translated these manual steps to reproducible playbooks, eventually to Ansible roles, which led us to Packer images as snapshots in DigitalOcean, which then led us to infrastructure through Terraform, which was the goal from the very beginning. Everything worked as expected. The documentation is amazing. The APIs are strong, as Marco said. Yeah, so if I have one advice to share is use infrastructure as code from the beginning. Add a manual human approval step. Don't trust AI for now to approve your infrastructure. But use Terraform from the beginning, because any manual change, any drift in the Terraform, in your actual infrastructure, can have you look for hours, if not days, about what's wrong and why.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Terraform. I have always found it ironic that DigitalOcean, such an ocean-themed company, we love Terraform this much, right? It should be Mariform or something. I don't know if that's the right term there. But Matt, let's go to you next. What was the migration, or what was the process of building on DigitalOcean for the first time like? And if somebody else is building a platform like served hosting for the first time, what's one big piece of advice you would give them for that initial process?
So for me, it was a simple process. The fact that we were starting from scratch meant that we could test out multiple different kind of strategies for how to deploy the application on DigitalOcean from the beginning without having to worry about scale, because it was new. So that meant that we could test Kubernetes, we could test the different ways of networking things together, we could test which bits of the platform we should run on individual droplets versus which ones we should have in cluster. So from our perspective, that was straightforward. Also, because it was just pay as you go from the beginning, it meant that we weren't spending huge amounts of money on that actual initial kind of setup and testing process. In terms of advice, I would say have a very clear understanding of what your goals are for your product and for your business in general, and then try to evaluate all of the different options according to those goals, rather than just kind of looking for advice from other people about what's trendy or what's the new thing. Again, one of the reasons that we stuck with digital, I'm going to say it again, but that simplicity was something that I wanted in my company from from the very beginning, and DigitalOcean was the only platform that I tested at that point which checked that box. And then AWS and Google Cloud at that point were too complex for me to justifiably say I'm going to go away and learn all of their documentation to be able to make the right decisions. Whereas that being a goal from the outset of my company meant that I could check that box against DigitalOcean and say, that seems like the right bet for us.
Awesome, thank you. Andres, to you, what was the migration process for y'all like, and what was the big learning that you took away from that folks who are doing the same thing?
So we were like 250K into other clouds per month, so it was a lot of money spent. And we went up to 80K, 90K at most. So it was a huge saving in terms of costs, and we kept the same speed, the same resources. We just migrated. That was one of the most painful points that we had. But in terms of speed and everything, it was super easy. And something that we really love is that we could use a platform for almost everything, for all the microservices and everything. We got more than 150 app platforms up and running. And we love how simple was for everything. In the Ruby on Rails community, we are super friendly with Heroku, but it's like DigitalOcean, it has the toolkit for everything, from the very simple applications or services, serverless, and managed databases and everything. And you can scale up to Kubernetes or to whatever you want. So it was just okay, just look up for the right tool that you need and implement on top of that. And this is exactly what we were doing with all the different tools that we got. And we also managed to solve all the lock-in vendor lock-in that we got with different providers by being super open with you guys, and you help us along the way to find solutions, open source solutions to every single problem that we got. So we as CTOs, head of engineering and everything, I would say that that's my biggest learning here, is that we gotta to be more open to someone that really wants to reach out and help us along the way, and has their best interest in what we do, you know. So we're super close in terms of this is my decision, this is what this is what I want. But when you showcase or you open your doors to some cloud like DigitalOcean, they really listen, with their product team and support team, technical team, everybody here. It's amazing how far you can reach or go whenever you open to showcase your Kubernetes cluster, your technology, how is built everything from inside out. So that's my biggest learning here.
Awesome, thank you. And just to plug open source, we love open source at DO. Everything we do, we can build with open source. We use open source, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Hacktoberfest just kicked off yesterday. So check that out. There's a Hacktoberfest website. If anybody wants to get into contributing to open source, there's no time like October. It's a fantastic program. There's a lot of local hackathons going on, so sorry to derail the conversation there. But I want to go to you, Marcus, next, and talk about kind of what was the process like for the Ethereum Foundation, putting stuff on DigitalOcean, and how did that go? What was your biggest learning?
Yeah, I guess it's similar to the others. So especially with similar to Zeus and Matt, it's we started small, basically without much interaction with your technical staff. It's just creating an account and looking what's there. And shock, that's another fin, was very simple. It's very well structured, the console, to do a quick POC, or just give me a droplet, give me a docs cluster, give me a database. I want to play with it. And as advice, I would say that's fine, and probably would be my way to go. It's just use the console to find your ways and test out like the waters, to like put in another nautical reference. uh, yeah, to like try it out. But then if you feel that like, okay, this is it, this is how I could work it and I could build it, then like, yeah, like pull out Terraform and read the very good documentation that's around for the Terraform providers and like DO in general. And the documentation will like bring you a long way. And then I think the first time we really like reached out to, or have like more in-depth talks with our technical DO staff was then like when we had like edge cases, or like not edge cases, but like feature requests that like stuff like, hey, we want to have like reserved IPv6 addresses for droplets or for Kubernetes clusters and stuff like this, whereas like maybe not edge case, but like more niche. So not really everybody wants to like do this, but we being like always riding the edge of what's possible sometimes, yeah, sure, we want v6 on everything and like on the way how we want to do it. And yeah, it wasn't there in the beginning. We helped facilitate this and worked with your like beautiful staff to make it work, and now it's there and works, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's great. And so you mentioned you work with our technical staff. Did you work with our solutions architecture team? And can you talk about what that process was like? And
yeah, it's usually like in a way that we have like regular check-ins. What do we need? What are like our next plans? And maybe not even just like how to like architect something or with the solution architects, but also with like what are like resource needs, like going forward for next quarter or next half year. So it's like currently we are like preparing the Fusaka hard fork for all you Ethereum nerds out there. They know what I'm talking about. Everybody else, don't worry. But this means that like we have a very like high demand in those like test nets, and we spin them up really quickly, and then like they sometimes take a day or like they will be around a couple of days or a couple of weeks sometimes. And because there's so much also in like niche regions that DO has, we basically are in communications with our technical staff to say, hey, we need like in like 3 weeks we want to like start a new network, and we need like a couple 100 machines in Singapore and stuff like this. And they make sure DO has the resources at hand, so we don't like hit apply on Terraform and it's just like, oh, we're out of droplets. So this is like really helpful to have this like very direct path of communication. It feels like to the DO engine room to say more steam, please, in this region. So this is very helpful, and I guess a lot of times when we talked or tried to talk to like big hyperscalers, you mostly only get salespeople that are like disguised as technical folk, and you don't have the feeling you get through to like, please put sales aside, we have a problem to solve. And that's also something that helps a lot from like the people-to-people relationship, to make sure you actually can run your workloads, even if it's like spiky or weird and niche. Yeah, the DO staff tries to make it happen.
that's good to hear. Yeah, I mean, and Marcus and I are kindred spirits in terms of the puns and the nautical references. So I just want to say I love that. You can't make too many. Everybody who knows me knows that's the one thing that's guaranteed to happen in a conversation with me. Andres, back to you. Did you work with our solutions architecture staff, and what was that process like? Were there any surprises in the process as you were going along?
Yeah, I think I found out the most surprise is that I was super close with everybody. Actually, I have several meetings with the database architects and with all the leads in here. We set up like different meetings in very short time, not sales meetings, yeah. it was super close. We got up to a point where we needed to customize a lot of our solutions, and we gathered a lot of ideas that we implemented super fast. We made a lot of proof of concepts and see what really sticks to the wall, you know. So we basically had like 20 meetings, and it was super easy, all the communication. And the style is like, okay, we got a problem, let's focus on that problem, solve it, and then like maximize and optimize for the next one. So they sat down with us, understand our problems, understand the business as yours, you know. So it was super amazing, all experience. And what I said already, you feel like you're talking to a person instead of a sales man and everything. That it's trying to push down your throat more products, more looking software, and they are really worried on the things that you are struggling with, you know. So it's like database for managed databases. We did the like 80K in terms of migration, and it was super simple. They help us during the process. They monitor every single step along the way, and they told us everything is all right. You can just relax. We're backing you up. So it was super nice and amazing experience to work really close with the team, because they are with you along the way, you know. So instead of like sell you and then forget about you.
That's good to hear. Yeah, absolutely. This is the thing I like the most is we don't have to say the salesy stuff because we can get our customers to speak for us. So I like that's my favorite thing in the world. Back to you, Zois. Was your team working with the solutions architecture team when you did your migration, and what was that process like? Were there any surprises in the process?
When we migrated our workloads from the other provider to DigitalOcean, the architecture didn't change. So therefore, we did not need the solutions architect to discuss about the migration. And given that it was so well documented, everything we did, it was quite easy to do the migration. No real challenges. No, everybody we had spoken with was not because of advising, but mostly because there were people that saw the growth of us in DigitalOcean, so they reached out to us to meet us. So it was a pleasant surprise at the communication that we had compared to being in other hyperscalers that you're just a number. They don't know you.
Yeah.
You don't know what's the company behind or what's the name, what's the person who is operating on their behalf. That's something we get with DigitalOcean.
Yeah, you'd think as the manager of the solutions architecture team, I would want every customer to work with solutions architecture, but at the same time, I love that some customers don't have to, right? That's the simplicity that we talked about before, right? The ability for you guys to stand things up on your own without needing to reach out and get help and get guidance. And a similar story for served hosting, right, Matt? You guys were pretty much able to self-start?
Well, yeah, we were new when we started on DigitalOcean, so we kind of designed things for ourselves in the beginning. We were small fry, so we didn't have a huge team at DigitalOcean at our beck and call because it was just me. But as we grew, we use it more and more. And the main thing that we use it for now is because I'm inherently lazy, so whenever there's new features that are released on DigitalOcean, I will ask your team what I should be using that thing for, rather than me going and researching it, trying to figure out how it applies to our platform, because you guys know the most about the thing that you have just built for us to use. So it makes more sense for me to say, basically, you tell me how I should be using, how I'm going to get the best benefit out of this. And that tends to be how we use the solutions architects at DO now.
Awesome, that's great to hear. And Andres, I want to go back to you for, kind of curious, how long have you guys actually been on DigitalOcean, and are there any recommendations you can make beyond the initial migration for people who are looking at something like this? Like if they're doing day two operations, for example, is a common term. So how long have you guys been on DO, and what's your day two operations recommendations for those folks in the audience?
Okay, we've been for about 4 years, I think, in the long run, from the very simple droplets. The big migration was 2 years ago. We've been very happy since. And in terms of day-to-day like operations and everything, doesn't matter if you're like a really big enterprise or a small application, everything or DigitalOcean will adapt to you um, up to a point that you can vibe code a simple application or you can like have the micro SaaS, big SaaS applications and everything. You will have the resources and the people, the really like experienced people that will help you along the way to build what you're really looking to scale. So you can like leverage everything onto DigitalOcean instead of focusing on how to fix, I don't know, a database by reading the logs or stuff like that. It's like you can focus on the product. So it's like relax and enjoy by just building what you really like to develop, you know, your product instead of worrying a lot on how big it's gonna be the bill at the end of the month, you know. So yeah.
Awesome. And Matt, for served hosting, how long have you guys been on DigitalOcean now, and what's your day two operations recommendation for those folks?
Excuse me. So served beta was developed in 2019 and launched to production January 2020, just before everyone got shut inside. So that was a year of not being able to meet any potential clients.
Yep.
But it worked out all right. So yeah, we've been in production for 5.5 years-ish. And in terms of recommendations, I would say one of the things that's benefited us the most is putting time aside for automation, looking at your workflows on a regular basis and kind of saying, is that going to scale, not just in terms of client size, but also in terms of the team size as well. And whether you want to scale your team, we've tried to keep our team as small as possible, and that's meant that we've had to invest more and more into automating the workflows that we have. And that can come in all sorts of different ways. So in terms of monitoring and alerting, obviously, is an easy win, especially if you're using something like Kubernetes, because you've got tools that will just do that as kind of plug and play. But also your workflows on the platforms themselves. So in terms of like DigitalOcean, we do like spend monitoring, which we automate internally. So we kind of call the APIs for DigitalOcean and we track our spend on a daily basis and say, is this similar to what we were doing last month, and does that match up with the number of clients that we have in our database? And if they diverge, then it pings us basically. We have an alert that pings us and says, you need to go and have a look, see, because something's diverged here, which isn't quite normal. So yeah, automating as much as possible to make your life as easy as possible.
Automation, always excellent. And as we talked about before, strong APIs and strong documentation make that automation possible. So that's what I like to hear. And Marcus, for the Ethereum Foundation, how long have you guys been working with DigitalOcean at this point? And do you have any recommendations for day two operations for folks out there?
Yeah, I guess I would say we're like 4 or 5-ish years now with DO. Was there before I started at the foundation, so I can't really say for certain, but quite a while. And basically day two, I would recommend automate all the things. So from like billing, I think we have like a similar thing where we like automatically pull down cost data from the billing APIs to have like a comprehensive view that's like tailored to our needs on like all the cloud costs. And then leading into this as well, if you have more than like 1 or 2 projects that you utilize DO for, use the tagging features for droplets or resources in general, your accounting will thank you for that. Because then like it's very easy to like put a finger on like which projects are like in terms of like revenue or like costs, is like which projects are eating your cloud bill and what is like not worth to look at if you want to like or need to like penny pinch a little bit. So yeah, and other than this, put monitoring on all the things, and I guess it's fine to like start out with like what's there with like the DO agent thingy on the droplets. It gives you like a a decent enough like insight into like your droplets and stuff like this, and gives you like a little bit of time and maybe takes the pressure off to like research and invest in like the more granular and like bigger monitoring platforms like Prometheus and Grafana, and it can be challenging to set those up and to like, wrap your head around those when you start up, or like once you have your stuff running and you want to like know how it's doing. And I guess there's like a good place for the like DO built-in things to like bridge that gap until you're like at a point where you kind of like can self-sustained monitor your things, so you're not like running blind until you have figured out how to like deploy your own stack.
Yeah, that's one thing I appreciate about how much focus we put on open source at DigitalOcean. Is it makes it so that things like Prometheus and Grafana are first-class citizens when it comes to operating with our products, right? We try and make sure that it's easy to use any sort of open source technology with that stuff. That makes it really easy to build that early automation because you are familiar with those tools already. You don't have to learn a new proprietary system. So that's great. And Zois, back to you and Kios. How long have you guys been with DigitalOcean now, and what can you give a recommendation to people out here about day two operations and what you've learned?
We've been with DigitalOcean for almost 6 years now.
Wow.
I think that's also similar around COVID. This is where we started a little bit before. Maybe we had the first proof of concept. Now the recommendations are, the obvious is automation, I said it before, and monitoring. Invest in monitoring from the beginning. It's very important. Leverage what DigitalOcean has to offer. And this might sound weird for someone who has experience with large hyperscalers, but if you come from a smaller hosting provider, then usually they might just provide a VPS, and that's all they might have, not even managed databases. So you might not know what is possible to do. You might not know that DigitalOcean offers a container registry or a Kubernetes managed service. So just spend a minute clicking on the website to figure out what is there, so you're just aware, because it might benefit your product if you can actually use something to simplify your architecture. Instead of hosting your database in the same VPS as your web application, it will speed up also your web application and will benefit from resources consumption if you just move to a managed database. So see what's there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Get the lay of the land before you dive in. That way you don't waste a bunch of time doing something that you don't need to do because there's already a product for it. Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. Matt, I want to go back to you for served hosting. I'm curious, I have to ask because that's been a theme not only in the world but at this conference. Does AI fit into served hosting's future plans? And if so, is there anything you want to see from DigitalOcean to help with that?
So in terms of our product offering, we don't have any specific plans on offering AI capabilities to our customers. It's difficult to kind of shove it into hosting at the moment. So, but we do use the tooling internally on our own team. So AI-powered code assistance is just ubiquitous now. So that's just within our editors. We toyed with it for customer service for a bit. Didn't quite work out, so we ended up rolling that back. But I'm particularly interested in kind of secondary aggregation of monitoring and passing that through AI. I don't think there's any product there at the moment that solves that nicely and in kind of a turnkey way at the moment. But some sort of system for processing, monitoring data, filtering out noise, and kind of making good decisions around alerting would be something that would benefit us, because there are some times where we wake up in the middle of the night for no reason.
Okay, yeah, I've got some traversal folks I think you'll want to talk to after this. Zoe, so I want to go back to you. Does Kios look at AI as something that's in the near future, and is there anything you'd like to see from DigitalOcean to help with that?
If you asked me yesterday, I would say no.
Okay.
But I saw some interesting things today, which I actually want to go back and try. I think that the great in AI is there might be something here that is useful that we might be able to use. We have been using AI for coding assistant from the very beginning, that when we saw it, I had colleagues. I was a little bit hesitant in the beginning, but I had colleagues who used it from day one. We are now fully embraced for the last at least a year. Everybody's using coding assistants. I'm not going to name. There's no real reason. But yeah, the great in AI sounds that there might be something that are useful for us.
Yeah, it can be tough to launch a chatbot. I mean, as Matt said, they've had to roll back some stuff that they did with their customer support experience. But I think all those log insight tools and things like that really help you nail down what's going wrong and improve things. So I'm hopeful that we can make that happen. So we'll definitely talk about that in the near future. Marcus, I want to go to you. Is Ethereum looking at AI in any way? Is that something in y'all's plans? And is there anything DigitalOcean can do to help?
It's not, or like it's similar to like the others, is that we are not going to like offer like any AI things, but we are using heavily AI for coding assistance and all sorts of things right now, as probably everybody does. And then one, I think, benefit-ish out of the whole AI craze is that GPU compute gets more widely available. So even the Ethereum blockchain like waved goodbye to proof of work. We had to like mine with GPUs a couple of years back now. There's like new stuff or new ideas coming up, which is like zero knowledge proofs, which basically means that you can cryptographically prove to like another party that you have a certain piece of information without revealing that information, and that you like computed that information correctly. If anybody wants like a really good headache, go out, research and read about that, because it's like brain melting math stuff. So yeah, and it turns out this stuff seems to be running very well on GPUs. So we might like piggyback on the AI hype to snatch 1 or 2 GPU droplets here and there.
Yeah, I like that.
For this stuff.
Yeah, GPUs are useful for a lot of stuff, not just the AI workloads, but also AI adjacent stuff and just stuff that can benefit from a lot of parallelized processing power.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Andres, for Pibox, are you guys looking at AI in the future? Is this something that you guys are thinking about? Is there anything DigitalOcean can do to help?
We have a couple of projects that we will try to leverage, like our operations on AI for the support team, for the onboarding team too. Also, when we deliver the boxes or the packages to the destinatory and everything, we're trying to optimize all these processes with AI. For now, we're in the proof of concept, but if everything will go smoothly, then we will stick with AI in terms of implementing it in the long run. So far, yeah, we embrace exactly the same thing. On the coding side, we are super happy with everything, with all the different names that are out there. But yeah, we will stick with what we have right now in the coding side, and we are planning in the future a couple of more projects, more in the image generation too. So yeah.
That's great to hear. Well, thanks so much, folks, for taking the time today. I really appreciate it. If I stay on stage any longer, there's going to be a hook that comes in and pulls me off. You guys don't want to see that. I start biting. So we'll go ahead and give the stage up now. But I just want to say thanks again so much for you guys putting the time in and being here. Really appreciate it. And look forward to talking to you guys again soon. Thanks so much, everybody.